in middle school, I was telling the guy King, in middle school, I didn't listen to music. It was only sports. I didn't know any songs, nothing. Like if you play EPMD or BDP, I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I didn't know anything.
So you didn't start listening to what, hip hop
I
until
didn't really start listening to hip hop until
high school?
Yeah. And I didn't listen because I didn't listen to any music. Music was whatever was around me though. But I didn't like, I want to hear this song. I never,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was not part of my life.
For someone to pick it up at high school and then become like a writer of.
Right, because you see people say, I had music in my house. My father only played doo-wop. Only, that was it. So the oldie station, I heard Motown would creep in and things like that, and I loved ballads. So that's like the love songs, because you're a young kid, you want to get with the girls and stuff, and love songs was like the best thing. What's better than a ballad in my head? Like I was like, I ain't gonna do no dance song. I'm not gonna be dancing like Michael and shit, right? But in high school, that's when I started to listen. I didn't listen to shit. You know what I mean? But so that feeling of listening to things and other people knowing what it says, and I can't even make out the words, let alone know the meaning. I know what that feels like. So when I go into other types of music, I listen to a Thelonious Monk record that I read about was supposed to be great. Let's say I have to read Brilliant Corners. That's what you start with Thelonious Monk. You're supposed to start with Brilliant Corners. I'm like, it sounds okay, but I don't see, and it doesn't really have ballads though, right? So that's my trigger. If it's a ballad, I'm gonna see, right? It doesn't really have any, so I'm like, why is this considered so epic? So I don't really understand, you know what I mean? And if you listen to Monk, I say Monk because a lot of stuff is very discordant.
Yeah, yes.
Right? So you're he's actually sounds off. Like it sounds terrible. Like right? So you don't know.
Not terrible, but I know what you're saying.
No, to the untrained ear, you don't know how much he's flipping it. Right. And then what happens is that people generally don't listen to music for the art form. That's something that hip hop put out there very overtly to this generation. But people don't listen for this guy, I listen to this guy MC because he's got such skill level. Like people don't, right? When you listen to jazz though, a lot of the jazz you're listening to is not per se for the song, but it's for the skill in the song, like a Coltrane. Sometimes you're not really listening to the song for that. You're listening to the song for the skill that he exhibits on the song. I didn't know how to listen to shit like that. The same thing with reading books. You know what I'm saying? To be able to read difficult books, you actually have to have a couple of moments where you read books you don't really get much out of. And how much metal, like that METTLE, how much metal do you have to get through things? You know what I mean? And then pick one that is a little bit easier, but not so, because valuing the book you read is an exercise. It's one of the most important teacher activities a student does. To pick a book for themselves to read, We usually pick stuff really, really easy. You know what I'm saying? And then we don't really go too much farther. You know what I mean? So that's the level. You know what I'm saying? That's why people when they do reading, they do simple reading. You know what I'm saying? So, I got good at reading all types of stuff. That stuff that is easy for other people is very difficult for me. So a novel is very difficult for me to read.
You probably get bored.
Yeah, I get bored. It's not a real story. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But a real story, it could be the same story, but for a real person, real history, I'm in it. I'm all the way in it. I read it much faster, even though it's more complex. But the creativity is something I'm trying to get to, so I have to work at reading a novel too. You know what I mean? And I get through them though, but that's more hard work for me.
So it's like a mental exercise.
Right? Yeah. Right? So we always got to challenge ourselves, you know what I mean? So the student has to challenge themselves, you know what I mean? And some stuff that they think that they wouldn't have any fruit doing, though, they should try, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean try something that you totally hate the whole way. That's not the same thing. I have no joy drawing.
No, really?
I don't even like drawing with my daughter, I never and my other one when she was little, I'm like, this is so whack. I don't know what to draw. I don't know what to do. It comes out stupid, And I'll draw if they're gonna indulge me and laugh at it. Then I'll draw. You know what I'm saying? But it's I feel no creativity doing it. You know, I feel hindered.
No, that's interesting because I'm just like listening to you, like the evolution of Sunez, right? So right, you know, going from not listening to hip hop to listening to hip hop to writing.
But that's why, like, if high school is 1990 for me. First album that I bought 3 albums with my twin brother the first time. But the one that was the immediate classic, where it was both musically and lyrically, was Low End Theory. So that's the first time where I realized, like, I never heard something where both things were amazing to me. And that blew me away, you know what I'm saying? And as far as hip hop, I was like, everything has to be that epic like that, you know what I'm saying? And 1990, then you skip, and I said all this history in the interview, so it's fresh with me, but it's good to see why these things happen. 1990, and then I'm into hip hop, and then 1994, I published for the first time in college. So I'm writing about hip hop. So now I'm in a feverish thing where I want to write about hip hop, but I feel like I don't know enough. You know what I'm saying? I think when I started to write about hip hop in college, I probably had about 10 albums in hip hop, which even then is not that much. To me, I don't think it's enough. You know what I mean? Because by then I was just making positive. So like for certain albums, like I feel how behind the 8 ball. I'm writing, right? I actually don't have and have never heard. I heard all the songs because when I got it, I was like, oh shit, I heard all these. But I had never heard Paid in Full completely. Oh. Because I had never gotten the album. And I never noticed if somebody was playing the whole thing straight up. I never noticed. So, Public Enemy, I never heard the whole album straight. And those have cuts that aren't really played in the street. So you wouldn't know the way that they constructed the album, right? So all these things, I was behind. So that's what set up like a feverish thing. At the same time, I'm in a Puerto Rican history class, and I'm embarrassed by the Puerto Rican professor because I'm coming in late thinking I'm gonna get an A.
I'm Puerto Rican, man.
Right, I'm Puerto Rican. But as I go along with the class, so the opposite happens. I realized that at the end of this class, these white kids that had to take this class, and all the other nationalities, they're gonna know about Puerto Rico as much as I do. And that's embarrassing to me. I start to be embarrassed by that. That's how little I know. They'll know as much as I do. That's pretty whack. You know what I'm saying? Right? And because of the way he's teaching, my professor, this is my first mentor, Dr. David Traverso. He's a revolutionary. So he's one of the students that took over Colgate University to get black and brown, studies programs. So I'm being radicalized. Like I'm totally militant by the end of the semester. You know what I mean? And so I become outspoken, all of these things. He's the first person that makes me lecture in front of classes about hip hop the next year. You know what I'm saying?
That's an exercise in itself.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah, exercise within itself. You know what I'm saying? And so all of these things, they push me further to the knowledge, but but they also have me forced to be comfortable catching up with a lot of stuff that I have no idea, I don't understand. So I thought the only way to prove that I understand is I have to understand all of the lyrics. Well, by the time I catch up, people don't really do what I do. They don't write reviews where they quote that much lyrics like that. They don't write reviews where they describe the way the beat sounds. So like if you didn't hear the beat, you would be like, I would like to hear that beat. You know what I mean? Like they don't really describe it like that. Everything is basically temperatures. This is hot, this is cold, this is hot, cold. That's how people write reviews. You know what I mean? This is banging, this is not, this is, so it's basically temperatures. You don't really get descriptions of music. But as I went along, because I was trying to learn about everything, it's jazz writers informed me, not hip-hop writers. I learned how to write about music from reading jazz writers. That's why I always tell people Baraka is really my model,
If Mecca did this.